Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. I am teaching from the wisdom of the ancients, the truth given to us by the Mastermind Jesus, and the practical mysticism of the science of mind and spirit. You can find out more about this ministry by going to www.revbates.com or by visiting the Way to a Wonderful Life channel on youtube.com. Just type in the YouTube search box Rev Bates, that is R-E-V-B-A-T-E-S with one word, and you'll find over 500 of my radio messages with additional recordings in both English and Spanish that you can listen to 24/7. The goal of this ministry is to bring us into the realization that the power of life is within us. The power of life is within us. I tell people all the time, excuse me, the Mastermind Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, not low here or low there. And 99% of those people look at me like, what are you talking about? But anyway, today our Way to a Wonderful Life message is titled, In Tune with the Infinite. In Tune with the Infinite. Now, every time I hear the words, there's a power within you, I am reminded of the bold authors of the ancient scriptures who spoke the truth for all of us to know and understand. Now, throughout history, there have been those who have revealed that radical thinking is essential to realizing a greater experience of life. The words of these people have filled the pages of philosophical and spiritual books. The great Emerson was just as radical as Jesus and just as radical as the Buddha in urging us to examine the beliefs and concepts that we hold to be true. The spiritual principles that have been demonstrated throughout the ages have been demonstrated by those who could not allow the passion for truth within them to be repressed. Excuse me. Think of the Mastermind Jesus, for example. Now, here was a man that was hunted. He was hunted. They wanted to stop him because not only was he against the power of government telling people how to live their lives, he was against the power of the religious trying to tell people how to live their lives. So he was a hunted man, but yet he spoke the truth. And he spoke it boldly so that each and every one of us can take that truth that he revealed to us and figure out what that means to us. Now, the mystical Ernest Holmes tells us that our mind is God's mind in us and as us, yet so few of us seek to fully realize this. Now, when he says God's mind, he's really talking about the intelligence of the Spirit. You know, God is just another name for law. The law of God is God. The law of God is God. Everything is ruled by law. Everything is ruled by law. That's why St. Augustine said, with God, there's only one of us. There's only one of us. And that law of God, being God, makes sure everything is directed at all of us as if there is only one of us. The law of gravity doesn't stop us from doing what we want to do because we committed a sin or we said a bad word or because the world tells us that we're living a life that's wrong or against God or whatever. I mean, we have so many people here throwing out all this religious nonsense. It's just incredible. And I guess the fear of death is so strong in so many people that they cling to religions that really are very unhealthy and also very false, very false. Now, James, the brother of Jesus, tells us that a double-minded man is unstable in all he does, and this double-mindedness comes from our unwillingness to embrace radical thinking. So many of us want to fit in, or we want to be acceptable to those around us, even when it means that we must contradict the very truth that we have gained an awareness of, and then We wonder why we are not unfolding a greater experience of prosperity and success and happiness and joy. We only have one life on this planet to enjoy at a time. I mean, I don't know if when we go to the great beyond, if we do come back here, I have no clue. I've never died to this earth. But for now, let's focus on the one life that we're living now. So let's begin to realize that we can enjoy it, but we have to enlarge our capacity to live to that which makes us feel enthusiastic and excited to be alive. Otherwise, we're not going to enjoy this life. We're not going to feel the happiness that makes life worth living. And a lot of times when we feel this enthusiasm and this excitement, we may find that our friends, our family, and those around us may not support us as we do. You know, so many people walk around with this tired, negative feeling about life. They go around with these judgments, you know. I read these columns, advice columns every day. It's Ask Amy. It's in the Washington Post and Denver Post, the Chicago Sun-Times, several newspapers. I read Carolyn Hack's, she's definitely in the Washington Post. I read Dear Abby. Most people know who Dear Abby is. I remember the days of Ann Landers. My mother used to read Ann Landers' advice column to us when we would have our lunch on the farm. Just so many times it was very entertaining, but so many times it made you think. It made you think because Ann Landers was very, very progressive in her thinking, very forward-looking, or very forward-thinking woman. So many people are not comfortable with being outside the box. They're not comfortable with being different than the other people around them. You know, if you remember those days in high school, and they had these groups called cliques. You know, they had the people that were considered the popular ones. Everybody wanted to be around people that were like them. But it's that like them nonsense that stops us from realizing truly who we are and what we're all about. And to get back into the mystical, we understand that most mystics throughout history have been met with scorn and rejection, but we know who they are, while their critics remain unidentifiable for the most part. How many people realize that Isaiah spoke naked? He wanted to get the attention of the people so badly that he spoke publicly, naked, in order to get their attention. But he had some of the greatest, deepest, most profound truths to share with people. And it's amazing how little the Christian religion, which followed the teachings of people like Isaiah, even the Judaism, how little they were impacted or how little they were affected by the profound truths that he taught, because neither Judaism nor Christianity would meet that ideal of truth that Isaiah spoke about. Neither one would. And he was Jewish. So all that is seen comes from the unseen, that is consciousness. It is our consciousness of success in the face of the appearances of failure that leads us to that which provides us with success. It is our consciousness of prosperity that guides us to that which will prosper us, even when the evidence of things seen shows us lack and limitation. He must believe and not doubt. James, once again, this is James, the brother of Jesus. He was bold and spoke with authority. We must believe and not doubt. Our radical thinking, he said, must inspire us. before it can inspire other people. His radical thinking inspired countless numbers of people to foster and nurture faith and hope in the good, or in their idea of God, I guess. Bold statements of truth establish in our consciousness a determination and conviction to demonstrate and manifest those things that will bring us into a higher realization of happiness and joy and peace with life. Wealth doesn't bring us peace. Health doesn't always bring us peace. Relationships don't always bring us peace. Career success doesn't always bring us peace. To find peace, we must realize that we're in charge of our lives. We're the actor and the director of our lives. In so many words. We shall never have to unify with God, but we shall have to recognize that we are not separated from God. Ernest Holmes wrote this. And in these profound words of truth, we find something that will provide for us a way to manifest the desires of our heart, recognition. We must recognize that we are part of God. We're part of the Spirit. We are Spirit. We're life. Because God is life. God is life. God is law. God is love. Love means creation. So this Spirit, this intelligence, this power that moves through our mind, our heart, and our soul every minute of every day, and probably through our nights of sleep, is God. That's God. God's not some big guy in the sky shaking a stick at us when we do something wrong. God is law. Law, just like gravity. Everything works for everyone in the same way. Gravity is no respecter of persons. So people who say God is no respecter of persons, they're really saying the law of gravity, the law of the universe, the law of the Spirit, the law of intelligence, the law of mind, is no respecter of persons. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Once again, this is from James, the brother of Jesus. He wrote this so long ago. But while we persevere, it is essential that we get into the Spirit of recognizing that within our own mind, within our own imagination, we can create the thoughts and images that will bring us into a greater expression of realizing and experiencing the joy of life. We must eliminate the thoughts and images of anything negative, of anything of lack, completely eliminate thoughts of failure and doubt, thoughts that separate us from the good that we desire. Not lacking anything means not lacking in our ability to have, to do, and to be that which we choose to have, to do, and to be, no matter how radical it may appear to be at the moment, or to other people for that matter. So let's look at these words. This is from the great Ralph Waldo Trine in his book, which is where I got the title for this message. The title of his book is In Tune with the Infinite. I was so taken with this book. I've had this book since August 21st, 1998. And there were 2 pages that I noted for myself to refer back to. One is page 107, and the other one is page 142. For those of you who may have the book, if you don't have the book, you can call your local bookstore or go to Amazon.com. It's Ralph Waldo Trine, T-R-I-N-E, In Tune with the Infinite. It's a classic book of philosophy and metaphysics. It was first published in Great Britain by G. Bell and Son Limited in 1899. Can you imagine? That someone had the audacity to publish this book in 1899 when so many people were probably thinking that they were evil for publishing something outside of religion. They talked about that refers to God, refers to life. So I'm going to look at these 2 pages because they got my attention back in 1998, August of 1998. And this is page 107. And once again, this is from Ralph Waldo Schreem's book, In Tune with the Infinite, and this chapter is titled Wisdom and Interior Illumination. He writes, if you would find the highest, the fullest, and the richest life that not only this world but any world can know, and do away with the ease or do away with the sense of separateness of your life from the life of God. Hold to the thought of your oneness, Remember, let's go back and remind ourselves, the law of God is God. God is not a big guy in the sky. The law of God is God. So we can't separate ourselves from the law, no matter how hard we try. We're life, God is life, and that's the truth. So let's hold on to the thought of our oneness with this life. So in the degree that you do this, you will find yourself realizing it more and more. And as this life of realization is lived, you will find that no good thing will be withheld. For all things are included in this. All things are included in this. Then it will be yours without fears or forebodings, simply to do today what your hands find to do. And so be ready for tomorrow when it comes, knowing that tomorrow will bring tomorrow's supplies for the mental, the spiritual, and the physical life. Remember, however, that tomorrow's supplies are not needed until tomorrow comes. So that's a powerful statement. Remember, however, that tomorrow's supplies are not needed until tomorrow comes. Remember those words of Jesus that don't look for tomorrow? Take whatever you got today and do with it what you can do with it today. It's a powerful teaching. It's a powerful, powerful, powerful mystic teacher. Radical teacher. Love Jesus. If one is willing to trust himself fully to the law will never fail him. It is the half-hearted trusting to it that brings uncertain and so unsatisfactory results. It is the half-hearted trusting to it that brings uncertain and so unsatisfactory results. Nothing is firmer and surer than deity. It will never fail the one who throws themselves wholly upon it. The secret of life, then, is to live continually in this realization. Whatever one may be doing, whatever one may be, by day and by night, both waking and sleeping, it can be lived in while we are sleeping no less than when we are awake. And here shall we consider a few facts in connection with sleep, in connection with receiving instruction and illumination while asleep. During the process of sleep, it is merely the physical body that is at rest and in quiet. The soul life, soul is another word for consciousness. Consciousness and soul are synonymous. The soul life, with all its activities, goes right on. Sleep is nature's provision for the recuperation of the body, for the rebuilding, and hence the replacing of the waste that is continually going on during the waking hour. It is nature's great restorer. If sufficient sleep is not allowed the body, so that the rebuilding may equalize the wasting process, the body is gradually depleted and weakened, and any ailment or malady, when it is in this condition, is able to find a more ready entrance. It is for this reason that those who are subject to it will take a cold, as we term it, more readily when the body is tired or exhausted through loss of sleep than at any other time. The body is in that condition where outside influences can have a more ready effect upon it than when it is in its normal condition, and when they do have an effect, they always go to the weaker portions first. Now, I brought that in just because sometimes it's important for us to realize just, the kind of mundane things. We have to have our sleep. We have to have a healthy body. A healthy body brings us more in tune with a healthy mind, and a healthy mind is what brings us in tune with the infinite, All this is a powerful word, but we must bring ourselves into alignment with it. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything for us. When we appeal, this is from his chapter on coming into the fullness of power. Coming into the fullness of power. This is page 142 that I mentioned earlier. Remember, I made notes in this book when I received this book on August 21st, 1998. And the book was first published in 1899. So I got this book 100 years after it was first published. Amazing, huh? So when we appeal to the Supreme for our life, when we appeal to the Supreme, our life is governed by a principle. We are not governed either by fear of public opinion or loss of others' approbation, and we may be sure that the Supreme will sustain us. That Supreme is the law. The law of God is God. We've got to keep reminding ourselves of that. If in any way we try to live to suit others, we never shall suit them, and the more we try, the more unreasonable and exacting do they become. The government of your life is a matter that lies entirely between you and yourself. And when your life is swayed and influenced from any other source, you are on the wrong path. When we find the kingdom within, that kingdom that Jesus referred to, that kingdom of heaven within you, that kingdom of intelligence, power, and spirit, and become centered in this infinite consciousness, then we become a law unto ourselves. When we become a law unto ourselves, then we are able to bring others to a knowledge of laws higher than they are governed, or many times even enslaved by. Think about that. When we have found this center within us, and the center of our own consciousness, our own soul, in that beautiful simplicity, at once the charm and the power of a truly great personality enters into our lives. Then all striving for effect, that is, for the material, that sure indicator of weakness and a lack of genuine power, is absent. This striving for effect that is so common is always an indicator of a lack of something. If our mind is so focused on money, it's usually because we're thinking we don't have the money. If our mind is so focused on health, it's because we don't believe that we can live without illness. We have to take everything in stride. We have to keep our mind at a level where we're centered. We're centered. We all want to be prosperous. We all want to be healthy. We all want to be successful in whatever it is that we do. We all want to live a happy life, a joyful life, a wonderful life, a life filled with love and loving kindness. Because that's the truth of us. That's the truth of us. So let's don't strive for the effects. Let's just know that all these things will take care of themselves if we put it in our mind that it's for us. If we put it in our mind and we can see it, we can imagine it, we can see ourselves doing it, being it, having it, guess what? It's available. We got to know this. We got to accept this. We got to bring it into our mind and start believing it. He said, this striving for effect that is so common is always an indicator of a lack of something. It brings to mind the man who rides behind a dock-tailed horse. Dock-tailed horse. That's kind of an interesting thought, but I'm sure that was common back in 1898. Conscious of the fact that there is not enough in himself to attract attention, in common with a number of other weaklings, he adopts the brutal method of having his horse's tail sawed off, that its unnatural, odd appearance may attract from people the attention that he of himself is unable to secure. Isn't that something? But the one who strives for effect is always fooled more than he succeeds in fooling others. The man and the woman of true wisdom and insight can always see the causes that prompt, the motives that underlie the acts of all with whom he or she comes in contact. He is great who is what he is from nature and who never reminds us of others. He is great who is what he is from nature and who never reminds us of others. The men and the women who are truly awake to the real powers within are the men and women who seem to be doing so little, yet who in reality are doing so much. They seem to be doing so little because they are working with higher agencies and yet are doing so much because of this very fact. They do their work on the higher plane. They keep so completely their connection with the infinite power that it does the work for them, through them, and they are relieved of the responsibility. They are the careless people. They care less people. They are careless because it is the infinite power that is working through them, and with this infinite power, they are simply cooperating. Remember those words of the Mastermind Jesus. It is the Father that doeth the work. The Father works, and then I work. It's the Father meaning the law of God is God. The Father is the Spirit, the power, the intelligence that moves through each and every one of us as our mind accepts that it's so. The secret of the highest power is simply the uniting of the outer agencies of expression with the power that works from within us. Those are the words of Ralph Waldo Treen. Can you imagine he wrote these words back in 1899, I'm sorry, back in 1899. In order for the higher inspirations to come through it, you must open your soul. Soul being another word for consciousness, I want to remind you. You must open it fully to the supreme source of all inspiration. If you open yourself and are willing, the infinite, through law, will work through you, as you, for you. In other words, it will do the work so that you can do the work that you choose to do, to be, or to have. And that's the way it is for you and me and for everyone. And so it is. And so it is. So once again, I want to thank you for being with me today. It's been my great pleasure to have you, and I hope you join me for my next broadcast right here on WIMB, World International Broadcaster, every Saturday evening, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday morning, there's a repeat. There's a recording played as a repeat of a previous message at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can also go to the Way to the Wonderful Life channel on YouTube.com. Just type in the search box on YouTube.com, Rev Bates, R-E-V-B-A-T-E-S. You'll find over 500 of my radio messages with additional recordings of both English and Spanish that you can listen to 24/7. God bless you. God bless us all.